Right now, nearly 74% of people actively dislike what they do for a living. They wake up, clock in, and go through the motions without any real vision for where they are headed. Without a clear target, people simply drift. They see a random job opening, apply, get hired, and suddenly find themselves locked into a joyless routine, trading their time to pay bills. Contrast that reality with a young immigrant born into a post-war environment in a tiny European mountain village. He had a heavy accent, an unpronounceable last name, and a completely unorthodox physique. Yet he didn't stay in that village. He went on to achieve absolute domination in 3 highly competitive, entirely unrelated industries: global bodybuilding, Hollywood cinema, and United States politics. How does one person conquer 3 different worlds without inheriting wealth, extreme privilege, or relying on blind luck? The answer is an uncompromising, aggressive framework that directly attacks our modern obsession with safety nets, realistic expectations, and the desire to stay comfortable. Hard work without a target is hollow. Expending effort without knowing exactly where you are headed turns discipline into an endless, agonizing treadmill. Arnold Schwarzenegger required a literal blueprint. He found it in a magazine detailing how a factory worker named Reg Park became a champion, and that precise image became his singular obsession. Once that rigid vision was locked in, his physiology seemed to change. While others groaned through their workouts, he was constantly smiling during brutal 5-hour gym sessions, because every single repetition pushed him one step closer to that mental image. Years later, while filming Conan the Barbarian, he had to crawl bare across jagged rocks. His knees and elbows were bleeding, yet the director kept asking for 10, 20, even more takes. When asked if he was in pain, he said no. He was so focused on visualizing how perfect that final cinematic shot would look on screen that the physical agony barely registered. Extreme physical and mental endurance cannot be sustained on sheer willpower alone. It requires an overwhelming, highly specific psychological vision pulling you forward. When he declared he wanted to be a leading man in movies, the industry told him to be realistic. Agents laughed at his oversized body, his thick German accent, and a name no one could spell. He ignored their reality and engineered his own. He aggressively enrolled in college, took acting classes, and spent hours in accent removal therapy until the roles started coming in. This brings up the second major excuse people use when abandoning their goals: the claim that there simply is not enough time in the day to build a dream. Let's break down the literal math of a single day. You have 24 hours. Subtract 8 for sleep. Subtract another 8 for your job. Even if you subtract 2 whole hours for a long commute, you are still left with 6 completely open hours. Optimize those remaining 6 hours daily, and the compounding volume of focused work is staggering. It demands a relentless approach to effort, much like Muhammad Ali. When a reporter asked Ali how many sit-ups he did, he replied that he didn't even start counting until his muscles actually started hurting. Time scarcity is largely a myth. We cling to it because it protects us from the uncomfortable truth that we are actively wasting our own potential. This intense level of focus leads to perhaps the most contrarian rule in his entire framework: an absolute hatred for having a plan B. The moment you create a safety net, you introduce cognitive danger. By even entertaining a backup plan, you immediately divert mental energy away from your primary goal. Playing without a safety net forces absolute commitment, creating a productive pressure that forces you to perform at your peak. People obsess over having a backup plan for one simple reason: they are terrified of failing in public and looking foolish. Look at Michael Jordan. Before he became the world's greatest basketball player, he missed over 9,000 shots in professional games. Every single failure served as a prerequisite for his eventual dominance. If you refuse to risk total failure and insist on playing it safe, you strip away the exact pressure required to actually win. An unwavering vision, brutal time management, and a refusal to create a safety net. These are the exact mechanics that turn an impossible idea into reality. While this framework focuses on personal conquest, it culminates in a final requirement, turning that accumulated influence outward. Power, wealth, and fame are merely tools. The internal feeling of success only arrives when that hard-won influence is used to pull others up behind you and reinvest in the community. Look at the math of your own day. You can burn your backup plan, define exactly where you want to go, and get to work.